Did you know the UK is facing its worst cost of living crisis in over 40 years? Energy bills have more than doubled, groceries are eating into savings, and wages can't keep up. The pound has lost value, and public services are crumbling under pressure. Some experts are even warning that the UK might become the sick man of Europe once again. But is the economy really doomed, or is there more to the story than we're being told? In this video, we'll uncover 10 alarming reasons why the UK's economy is struggling and what it could mean for your future. Stay till the end, because reason number 7 might shock you more than you expect. Number 1. Stagnant productivity growth. The UK has been facing a productivity puzzle for over a decade. Since the 2008 financial crash, the country's output per worker has barely moved, while other major economies like Germany, France, and the United States have rebounded with stronger efficiency and innovation. The UK continues to lag behind. This isn't just a boring economic metric. It affects your wages, your standard of living, and even how fast your community develops. Productivity means how much value a worker creates in a given time. When that doesn't grow, salaries freeze, living costs rise, and businesses struggle to scale. Despite the tech boom and digital transformation, UK workers produce far less per hour than their counterparts in most developed countries. This isn't because people are lazy, it's because businesses are not investing enough in trowels, equipment, and technology that drive efficiency. According to the Office for National Statistics, UK productivity grew just 0.3% annually from 2010 to 2020. Compare that to the pre-2008 average of 2% per year, and the difference is staggering. Experts call this the lost decade of growth. Even small improvements in productivity could have added billions to the economy, boosting tax revenue and reducing national debt. The sectors most affected include construction, retail, and public services, areas that employ millions. Without growth here, the economy becomes sluggish. Workers feel burned out doing more with less, while companies delay hiring or pay cuts become the norm. A nation's strength depends on how efficiently it uses its people and resources. If the UK can't reverse this trend, it may struggle to compete in the global economy. The cost of inaction is stagnant wages, higher prices, and a weaker economic future. Every year of lost productivity is a missed opportunity we may never get back. Number 2. Post-Brexit trade decline. The UK's decision to leave the European Union sent shockwaves through the global economy. But the real impact is being felt most at home. Since Brexit, the UK's trade with its largest economic partner, the EU, has been disrupted by new regulations, higher costs, and increased border checks. Businesses that once thrived on frictionless trade now face paperwork, tariffs, and delays. Exports to the EU dropped significantly after 2020, with some sectors, like fishing, agriculture, and small manufacturers, hit the hardest. According to the Office for Budget Responsibility, the UK's total trade is now 15% lower than it would have been if it had remained in the EU. That's not a temporary dip. It's a long-term structural shift. Small and medium-sized businesses are particularly vulnerable. Many can't afford the compliance costs or adapt to the complex regulatory requirements of post-Brexit Europe. As a result, thousands have stopped exporting altogether. This means fewer sales, fewer jobs, and less economic growth. The dream of becoming a global Britain has been dampened by supply chain frictions, lost partnerships, and falling competitiveness. Imports have also become more expensive. The added bureaucracy and border checks raise costs, which are often passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. This contributes to inflation, reduces consumer spending, and limits the purchasing power of UK households. International investors are taking note. The UK is no longer seen as the gateway to Europe, and companies are relocating offices and operations to Amsterdam, Paris, or Frankfurt. That means lost jobs, lost tax revenue, and lost opportunities. Brexit was supposed to unleash freedom and growth, but without strong trade ties, the UK risks becoming economically isolated, with reduced bargaining power and fewer tools to recover from global shocks. Trade isn't just about money, it's about influence, stability, and long-term prosperity. Number 3. High national debt and interest payments. The UK's national debt has ballooned to levels not seen since the aftermath of World War II. As of this year, debt sits at nearly 100% of GDP, meaning the government owes as much as the entire economy produces in a year. This alone would be worrying. But rising interest rates have made the situation even more dangerous. When interest rates were near zero, borrowing was cheap. Now the Bank of England has hiked rates multiple times to combat inflation, making government debt more expensive to service. According to the Office for Budget Responsibility, the UK is now spending more on interest payments than on schools or policing. That's money not going into infrastructure, education, or health, critical pillars of long-term economic strength. What's worse is that a significant portion of UK debt is index-linked, meaning its cost rises with inflation. As prices go up, so do repayments. This creates a vicious cycle. Higher inflation leads to higher interest, which leads to more debt, which limits the government's ability to stimulate the economy. This pressure forces spending cuts or tax increases, both of which can hurt growth. If taxes go up, households and businesses have less to spend. If services are cut, public welfare and productivity suffer. Either way, the result is a drag on economic momentum. Investors also get nervous. If they fear the UK might struggle to meet its obligations, they demand higher yields to buy government bonds, pushing costs up further. This damages the UK's creditworthiness and makes future borrowing riskier. A country drowning in debt can't respond quickly to crises, whether it's a pandemic, energy shock, or global recession. The more that goes into debt repayments, the less is left to build a resilient economy. High debt isn't just a number, it's a chain holding back future potential. Number 4. Chronic underinvestment in infrastructure. One of the most overlooked but critical issues dragging down the UK economy is its chronic underinvestment in infrastructure. Roads are congested, railways are outdated, broadband is patchy, and power grids are aging. These aren't just inconveniences, they are structural weaknesses that limit productivity, reduce competitiveness, and discourage both domestic and foreign investment. Compared to global peers, the UK spends significantly less on public infrastructure. According to the OECD, the UK ranks among the lowest in infrastructure investment as a share of GDP. Countries like France, Germany, and South Korea are building high-speed rail, expanding renewable energy, and upgrading digital infrastructure, while the UK cancels projects like HS2 and delays airport expansions. Poor infrastructure raises costs for everyone. Commuters lose hours in traffic or unreliable train services. Businesses face delays in logistics and distribution. Rural areas suffer from digital exclusion due to slow internet, limiting job opportunities and access to services. These inefficiencies reduce the UK's ability to scale industries, attract tech firms, or create future-ready jobs. Construction companies and developers often face bureaucratic red tape, long planning approvals, and inconsistent policy direction. Without a clear and stable vision, investors hesitate to commit. This lack of long-term planning creates a feedback loop where short-term fixes are favoured over transformative projects. Infrastructure is not just about concrete and cables, it's the foundation of economic growth. It connects people, goods, and data. It enables innovation, enhances resilience, and fuels regional development. Without it, the UK risks becoming slower, more fragmented, and less adaptable in an increasingly digital and competitive world. Every delay in modernising infrastructure is a delay in unlocking economic potential. A future-proof economy demands bold investments today, not years of hesitation and neglect. The longer the UK waits, the more it falls behind in the race for global relevance. Number 5. Housing crisis. The UK is facing a full-blown housing crisis. And it's not just about owning a home anymore. Skyrocketing prices, limited supply, and soaring rents are choking the financial lives of millions. The average home now costs over 9 times the average salary. In cities like London and Oxford, the gap is even wider. For young people and lower-income families, the dream of owning a home feels unreachable. Renting isn't much better. With demand far outstripping supply, rents have risen to record highs, forcing many to spend over half their income just to keep a roof over their heads. This limits their ability to save, invest, or even start families. It's a chain reaction. High housing costs reduce consumer spending, which slows down economic activity in other sectors. The crisis also hits workforce mobility. People can't afford to move closer to jobs, especially in growth areas like tech or healthcare. This traps talent in the wrong places and worsens regional inequality. Employers, meanwhile, struggle to recruit in high-cost areas, dampening business expansion and local development. At the root of the problem is a long-standing failure to build enough homes. Planning laws are rigid, land prices are inflated, and local resistance blocks new developments. As a result, supply remains stagnant while demand keeps rising. Buy-to-let investors and foreign speculators add more pressure, often snapping up properties not to live in, but to park wealth. This drives up prices and leaves many properties underused or even vacant, while families sleep in temporary accommodation. Housing is more than shelter, it's the bedrock of economic security. When people spend most of their income on housing, they can't support local businesses, invest in education, or plan for retirement. The housing crisis isn't just a social issue, it's a major economic drag that threatens future growth, financial stability, and generational opportunity. Number 6. Declining real wages. Across the UK, millions of workers are earning less in real terms than they did over a decade ago. While salaries may have risen on paper, inflation has outpaced those gains, eroding the purchasing power of ordinary people. This means the average worker today can afford fewer goods, fewer services, and fewer opportunities than someone earning the same wage 10 years ago. This isn't just a short-term issue caused by global shocks. The problem has been building since the 2008 financial crisis, with real wage growth nearly stagnant across most sectors. Between 2010 and 2020, real wages in the UK grew at an average of just 0.5% per year, one of the slowest rates among developed nations. For many, wages haven't kept pace with rising costs of housing, transport, energy, and even basic food. Entire industries like hospitality, education, and public services have seen minimal pay increases, even as workloads intensify. Public sector workers, in particular, are feeling the squeeze, with salaries falling far behind inflation while expectations continue to rise. This leads to burnout, staff shortages, and reduced service quality across the country. When people earn less, they spend less. Lower consumer spending weakens retail, entertainment, and service-based industries. Small businesses struggle to stay afloat. Economic growth slows down. It becomes a vicious cycle. Low wages cause weak demand, which causes businesses to hold back on raising wages or hiring more staff. The pressure is also mounting on younger generations. Millennials and Gen Z face student debt, rising rent, and unstable employment, all while earning less than their parents did at the same age. This fuels a growing sense of economic despair, reducing confidence, long-term planning, and financial independence. When real wages fall, the entire economy feels the impact. Prosperity depends on strong, stable incomes, and the longer wage growth remains weak, the harder it becomes to build a society that can truly thrive. Number 7. Shrinking workforce. The UK is facing a quiet but powerful crisis. A shrinking workforce. Fewer people are available to fill jobs, and the consequences ripple through every sector. From healthcare to hospitality, logistics to manufacturing, this decline isn't sudden. It's been building for years due to an aging population, low birth rates, and reduced labour migration after Brexit. As older workers retire, not enough younger ones are stepping in to replace them. The median age in the UK is rising steadily, and with fewer working age adults, there's more pressure on pensions, healthcare services, and public finances. The burden on taxpayers grows, while the size of the tax base shrinks. This makes it harder for the government to fund essential services without increasing debt or cutting budgets. Post-Brexit immigration changes have made it more difficult for foreign workers to fill essential roles. Sectors like agriculture, construction, and care services have been hit hard, with thousands of vacancies left open. Some crops have gone unharvested. Care homes are understaffed. Restaurants reduce hours. These aren't isolated problems. They impact productivity, public health, and even food security. The pandemic also pushed many people out of the workforce. Some left due to long-term illness, others for early retirement or mental health reasons. Many haven't returned. The UK now has one of the highest rates of economic inactivity in the developed world. That means fewer people working, spending, and contributing to economic momentum. Automation and AI may fill some gaps in the future, but that transition takes time, investment, and reskilling. Right now, the UK lacks a clear strategy to rebuild its labour force. Without action, skills shortages will continue to limit growth, inflate wages artificially, and disrupt business operations. A shrinking workforce isn't just a labour issue. It's a foundational threat to economic resilience, productivity, and the country's long-term ability to compete in a fast-changing world. Number 8. Financial services sector under pressure. For decades, the financial services sector has been the backbone of the UK economy. London, often hailed as a global financial hub, has generated billions in tax revenue, supported over 1 million jobs, and attracted international capital. But in recent years, this powerhouse has been showing signs of strain, and that spells serious trouble for the wider economy. Since Brexit, the UK has lost its passporting rights, which once allowed financial firms to operate freely across the European Union. As a result, many banks, asset managers, and trading platforms have relocated staff and operations to EU cities like Frankfurt, Dublin, and Amsterdam. These shifts mean fewer high-value jobs in the UK, reduced tax contributions, and a slow erosion of London's global dominance. Regulatory uncertainty also plays a major role. The UK is now outside the EU's legal and financial frameworks, but it hasn't yet formed a clear, competitive alternative. This lack of direction creates hesitation among international investors and forces financial firms to hedge their bets by expanding elsewhere. Uncertainty is the enemy of confidence, and financial markets run on confidence. The sector also faces growing competition from rising financial centres in Asia, the Middle East, and the United States. If the UK loses its edge in innovation, talent attraction, and regulation, global firms won't think twice about moving operations to more stable, business and friendly environments. Domestically, the impact is already visible. Job growth in finance has slowed. Office vacancies in business districts have risen. Even local economies that depend on financial activity, from coffee shops to consultants, feel the downturn. When the financial sector weakens, it's not just bankers who feel the hit. The ripple effect touches public services, housing, education funding, and pension stability. Protecting this sector isn't about saving the rich. It's about preserving one of the last engines still pushing the UK economy forward. Number 9. Regional inequality. The UK is not one economy, it's many, moving at very different speeds. Regional inequality has become one of the most persistent and damaging challenges facing the country today. While London and parts of the South East enjoy world-class infrastructure, higher wages, and stronger investment, much of the North, Midlands, and coastal towns remain economically stagnant. According to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, the UK has some of the widest regional gaps in income and productivity of any developed nation. Workers in London earn over 30% more than those in other parts of the country. Opportunities are unevenly distributed, and so is access to healthcare, education, and transport. This economic divide creates a sense of disconnection, frustration, and lost potential. Many northern towns and post-industrial areas never fully recovered from the collapse of manufacturing in the late 20th century. Promises to level up have largely fallen flat, with funding announcements often replaced by delays, reversals, or piecemeal solutions. In the meantime, residents face fewer job opportunities, poor public services, and decaying infrastructure. This inequality has long-term consequences. Young people from disadvantaged areas often leave in search of better prospects, creating a brain drain. Those who stay behind face reduced access to digital connectivity, business funding, and modern workspaces, essential tools for a thriving modern economy. Businesses are also hesitant to invest in regions lacking strong transport links, skilled workforces, or institutional support. That slows down local economies and deepens the divide. Without balanced development, the UK's overall growth suffers. A country cannot be globally competitive if large regions remain economically sidelined. Tackling regional inequality isn't just a fairness issue, it's a matter of national strength. Closing the gap would unleash untapped talent, increase productivity, and create a more resilient and inclusive economy. Ignoring it means letting entire communities fall further behind, dragging the whole nation with them. Number 10. Political instability and policy U-turns. The UK economy isn't just shaped by numbers and markets. It's deeply influenced by political leadership, policy decisions, and the confidence they inspire. In recent years, that confidence has been badly shaken. Frequent leadership changes, unexpected U-turns, and short-lived economic plans have left investors, businesses, and citizens confused and cautious. Since 2016, the UK has had 5 different prime ministers and countless shifts in direction. One government promises austerity, the next pushes spending, then the policy reverses again. This lack of consistency undermines trust in long-term planning. Businesses delay investments. Developers hold back on projects. Foreign investors hesitate, unsure what rules they'll be dealing with in 6 months. Perhaps the most vivid example came in 2022, when a short-lived government announced a mini-budget that included sweeping tax cuts with no clear funding. The result? Market panic, a spike in borrowing costs, and an emergency intervention by the Bank of England. Billions were wiped off pensions and gilts in days, all because of unclear, untested policies rolled out without warning. When economic policy feels like a gamble, confidence vanishes. Stability is the backbone of a strong economy, and the UK's recent political volatility makes it harder to attract long-term investment. Multinational firms are less likely to headquarter in a country where policies shift with each new leader. Frequent U-turns don't just hurt investor sentiment, they also impact the public. People can't plan for the future when policies on housing, taxation, energy, or pensions change abruptly. This creates uncertainty, reduces spending, and drives public frustration. Trust once lost takes years to rebuild. The UK needs a stable, transparent, and forward-looking policy environment to restore credibility. Without it, even the best economic ideas risk being drowned in noise, confusion, and short-term thinking. So, is the UK economy truly doomed? Well, not necessarily, but there's no denying the warning signs. From rising debt and inflation to political instability and declining wages, the cracks in the system are getting harder to ignore. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're real issues affecting your job, your home, your energy bills, and your quality of life. But here's the thing. Economies are not static. They rise, they fall, and they recover. Only if we recognise the problems early and act with urgency. History has shown that with strong leadership, bold reforms, and public awareness, even struggling nations can bounce back stronger than ever. The purpose of this video wasn't to scare you, it was to inform you, to help you see the bigger picture that the headlines often miss. Because when we're better informed, we're better prepared. So whether you're a student, a working professional, or someone simply trying to make sense of it all, you now have the insight many people don't. And knowledge, in times like these, is power. Let's not sit back and wait for change to happen. Let's stay alert, ask questions, and demand accountability. Because this economy doesn't just belong to governments or corporations, it belongs to all of us. We pour our heart and soul into these videos so you can understand what's really going on. So if you found this helpful, drop us a comment, not just with your thoughts, but what you think could help fix the UK economy. And hey, subscribing takes just one click, but it means the world to us and helps us keep creating content that matters.